Yes, this is the ex-Jehovah Witness tape. Um, I Today I'm going to talk about. This is the place that we used to have so many I did so many videos here after I worked at the Starbucks, and now I wanted to talk about the unfairness of that of all the things that are put on a ex-Jehovah Witness. Um, I just I just want to say that I'm also going to talk about Killing Me Softly. I researched the Killing Me Softly about what it meant. I know it's in a song, and I also looked at that, but then I was looking for what I could use as a definition for the meaning of Killing Me Softly, and I sparked something and I found something really good, and it states that it's an extremely emotional pain that's caused by something nonviolent. Okay. So I want to talk about that also. But first, I want to say, maybe this is complaining, but it's always on my mind. It's always usually on all ex-Jehovah Witnesses' mind. Okay, so when something happens to you, however you leave the congregation, and there's one person I always think about when I saw his YouTube, and I tried to, write him in the comments a long time ago. It was a long time ago, but he's the one that I really do see fit. It was like showing in this video. Even though it was hidden, but I could tell about he didn't know, like what his number was going to be or how he was going to cope with or handle his situation, though he was content for the fact that all the things that he did when he left the organization, he left because of his knowledge, because he figured things out. And I didn't see his video again, after watching him. But that's just one thing where I can see where this term "killing me softly" can be used. Not so much as a song, but that term that they came up with, that term to put in a situation. And I want to use that term as, like they said, an extreme emotional pain caused by something non-violent. Okay, it's sort of like, also like when you're in a relationship and somebody does something, the other partner does something. It's not violent or anything. It's just like maybe they stopped loving you, or maybe they did something, and then maybe they want to break up or something like that. But it's something that is so painful emotionally, but it's non-violent. So you have to cope with it yourself. So first, I want to talk about like the unfairness. I think maybe it's like complaining, but it's complaining. And when I say like the unfairness, it's just that you're put in a position to where it's not just one thing, but you have like your friends who cut off their ties with you, and in your family that cuts off your ties with you. But first, I want to explain why it's painful and why it has this killing me softly effect. Is the fact that when you love somebody, when you care about somebody, it's a constant. It's like electricity that doesn't go out, and it doesn't have to go out, and it continues and continues and continues, and it renews itself by the way you both, interact normally and naturally, and you never even have to think about it. But then, let's say, as far as the ex-Jehovah Witness, that thing is disrupted in a way that you can't understand. So you have it killing me softly, but you don't know it. So you have this extreme emotional pain that only you have and only you can see. And where it's coming from, you can't understand it. But now I want to clear this up where it's coming from. And it's coming from the fact that it's done by something not violent whatsoever. But we know it's from different avenues. And one of the avenues, which I think is unfair, is that it's given to you by what is supposed to be this organization, but the organization doesn't exist, and I went through that. I mean, like, governing body is just a joke, and it's just a show, like a mafia. It's like a show. And also the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is just a show. And I was thinking of two instances when I know that it's just a show, and this is what causes the pain. It's that it's coming from first of all, one of the major things is coming from a place that you don't know, or you can't see, or you can't figure out. And I got two instances. One instance was when I visited Bethel, and now I'm looking back and seeing what was the odd thing about it. And when we visited Bethel, I noticed there was nobody there. I mean, you had the workers and things like that we always talked about, but there was nothing there. It was like empty. I mean, we looked at the printing press, and we looked at this, and we looked at that, but I never saw them. I never saw them working on it. And the thing about it is, if it's supposed to be working, okay, if it were supposed to be like all this action and working with the Watchtower and the Bibles and stuff like that, how come we didn't see the action? And the thing about it is, I worked and when I was in New York, I worked in, it was temporary, but it was a long time. It was this place that did printing and stuff like that. This was for Wall Street, okay? And they had printers all over, and it was always printing all the time. I mean, there were people, and they wanted me to work like, it was just 24 hours printing, constantly printing. It had activity, it had people, I could see things happening. And now I looked back to where when I went to Bethel, there was nothing there. I mean, I didn't see anything there. I didn't see people printing. I didn't see like action, like some people being involved about it, and so many people being involved in doing things, okay? So that caught my attention. And another thing is how I linked it together with this one time I was looking for this job in New York, and I came across this. It was like doing something as far as Wall Street and trading and stuff like that is concerned. And I got this interview, and I made the interview. That was weird, so easily. And we went into this, and I noticed that the building, the floor that I was on, it was no action whatsoever. Of course, it was mafias. I'm almost sure it was some kind of mafia, because when they explained to us or tried to train us, the guy was using a chalkboard, but he was like, now I can see that he was totally high. He was gone. And he was trying to explain all these things. I'm sure everybody else, a lot of people have come into jobs to where they weren't really real. And it was the same kind of feeling that I got when I think back to the what was supposed to be the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. It didn't have that action, that feeling, that life in it. So that's one thing I think is unfair, the fact that, we go through this and there's nothing to argue with. There's nothing, it's non-violent, it's hidden. It's nothing to talk to. There's no letters to write to somebody and tell them this is wrong or that is wrong, or we're suffering this way or we're suffering that way. It's hidden, so it's non-violent. So it's a killing me softly type situation, because it's an extreme emotional pain that only that is directed toward you. and you can't do anything about it. So that's what I think is unfair. Not just that, but there's, as far as the family and friends are concerned, you lose all of that, and it's nonviolent, and that's another killing me softly. And it's something that you can't find the direction to. However, now I just expressed to you that it was like, it's like something was cut off, just like you have the love that's cut off. Like you have love, and it constantly, you don't have to worry about it. It's constantly there. It's constantly going on. Well, this is a feeling that's constantly going on too, that you have to cope with, like constantly, like an electricity. So I would call that a killing me softly. It's like constant. And if we didn't keep working or keeping ourselves busy and keeping ourselves strong, the feeling would overcome us, and we would just die, or totally, or how can I say die, but totally like depreciate, I can say, or how can I say the word to where you totally go down and down and down, which I'm sure happens to a lot of ex-jehovah witnesses that don't take action in themselves because they don't know what's going on. So the killing me softly effect is always there. The only thing I want to say now, to finish, to kind of like end this one, as far as this I learned, as far as this, what I've learned in this YouTube I'm expressing to you and I learned, is that I was saying, which I'm not going to be, I don't want to be violent, and you don't want to be violent, but I'm saying, say if there's some way that you could, but it has to be done in the right way, which I'm going to figure out, that you can just stop it. I mean, like, for instance, I always think about, like my brother, and I was thinking about it. I'm always ready for him to call, or somebody to call from a family member, and I always ask my brother, how's everything, have you got news? But how about if I stopped doing that to myself? If I stopped, not something being mean, but just turned it off, just said, it's over. I mean, like, it was nice, but it's over. I mean, like, they act as if we're not there, and they're not part of us because of the false teachings that they have. But how about if we do it in a nice way? And I'm gonna ask, God for help, and just say, I don't want that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel that that's my brother anymore. I think it's over. You know what I mean? And do it, but I have to do it with each family member. With each family member. And the thing about it is that I find, and everybody knows, that family is connected no matter what. It's just like my mother was connected, if you know the tape between my mother. But my mother was, the story. If you look at the video, it's all there. I'm not going to explain about that. But there is a connection with the family. I think I'm feeding them. Okay, this is from my point. I'm not going to say what other people is feeling, because I don't want them to do something negative. I'm just going to say I'm not going to do it negative. I'm going to get God's approval. But I'm going to cut the ties in my emotional whatever. I don't know what it is. And just view them as just people, So I'm thinking about that. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to go about it later on. Hopefully I'll do it in another YouTube. But that's where I'm at right now. It's not something negative at all. The only thing I'm saying is that when you have love, it constantly comes to you. But when you don't, I feel like I'm feeding something that is feeding off of this emotional, how can I say, extreme emotional pain, that I can't even really see, or I don't really notice at all. But now I'm going to go into that and find a very nice way, with God's help, to cut those ties. I'm sorry. I'm just going to think about that. But anyway, it's nothing negative, and I don't want anybody to think anything negative. That's why I'm going to give a follow-up and tell you what I've come to, unless God wants me to keep that hidden, how can I say, hidden, um, not depressed, it's hidden, um, it's, how can I say, there's a word for it. It's not depressed, it's, they say this thing to like somebody who's hiding something, and you put it in the back of your mind, and you don't like, because it's in the back of our mind, but we don't want to talk about it. We don't talk about it. We never bring it up, but it's always there. So that's the word I'm trying to find out. So, I think I have these problems because every day I study English because I'm doing songs and everything. So I break down words all the time, so I guess they don't come up like so fast because like right now I'm working on a song. And a lot of times when I'm doing videos, like now I'm doing this song and I've been practicing all day. So I think that's another reason why when I want my words, they don't come out. Anyway, I explained exactly what the word was. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing fine. It's nice talking to you again. And I'll talk to you later. I'll tell you the follow-up about what I came up after I prayed about it. Thank you. Bye-bye.